The strategic reserves can last for a few weeks, and many countries don't even have strategic reserves. But after that, what are they going to do? When the price of oil goes, I don't know, $250?
And how does that translate into pump? I don't know how that works. Gallons to barrels. I don't know how that works. But right now it's somewhere around, hovering around 195, 100. So we're talking 2.5 times, or time and a half. So you're talking about 150%. That's a gain. If it's $250. So if you translate it, it's going to cost you a lot more. You're talking about maybe $10. I don't have the math. I'm not going to do the math. If somebody want to do the math, you can do the math. You know, how does barrels of oil translate into gasoline?
For you on other stories, I thought it was really important to do that. We haven't done it. It's Sunday. Give you a little bit of an update. All right, let's jump over to Strait of Hormuz. So here's the latest Joint Maritime Information Center advisory note for 15 March. It just dropped. We are still at a critical level in the Arabian Sea, Strait of Hormuz, and Gulf of Oman. Confirmed maritime incidents so far since 1 March stands at 20. There were no attacks over the last day. We have an average rate through the Strait of Hormuz of 138 ships prior to the attacks. We are now sitting there yesterday with 3 vessels through the Strait of Hormuz. In terms of global navigation system interference, it's still widespread and consistent. No vessel incidences over the past 72 hours. However, the targeting of port fuel storage continues to demonstrate the potential for attacks to disrupt bunkering operations, port logistics, and regional energy supply chains. The ability of unmanned systems to strike infrastructure and extend ranges reinforces that maritime risk is not limited to vessel transits or choke points, but may also affect port facilities, offshore energy infrastructure, and maritime logistics hubs throughout the Arabian Sea and Arabian Sea approaches. This chart shows you, it's not highlighted, but it really should be, there remains no confirmation of mining in the Strait of Hormuz. I don't think there's a better graphic than this that really demonstrates the situation in and around the area, with the absolute drop-off in the number of ships that have transited through the Strait of Hormuz since February 28th, when we started seeing that drop-off occur, down to just a trickle.
Shalom. First and foremost, all praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakat Kodash. And double honor to the apostles, the elders, the great millstone who still rule and teach well. Peace and blessings and safety unto the Lord's elect, scattered throughout the four corners of the planet Earth, mainly in America, pushing His word in humility and sincerity as commanded by Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. I'm the brother Yaquan from the GMS Cleveland camp, coming back, Lord willing, with a quick and edifying lesson through the Spirit and through the power of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, which is the name of the Heavenly Father, in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shai, who in the world ignorantly and incorrectly called Jesus Christ. And United States gasoline prices are going to continue to rise, but could they reach $18 a gallon? $18 a gallon. Think about the reaction that these people would have if their gas is going to cost $18 a gallon. Think about the limitations that puts on one's life, the ability to commute to work. Shoot, think about that, the limitations that puts on these companies. Because me personally, I drive a company vehicle to and from work, and they give me a gas card, and I'm spending their money to put gas in the tank. But if the gas prices continue to rise to the point where they reach $18 a gallon, which experts are predicting, as you just saw in the clip that I opened the video with, the Elder Apostle Tahar, I clipped his video where he was touching on a video by that, I don't know if he was an analyst or a specialist, but he mentioned the term $250 a barrel. And I did the math through ChatGPT, okay, and I'm going to touch on that in this video. But the strain that would put on a company to have to pay $18 a gallon, and like I said, for my company alone, I live in Cleveland, Ohio, but we All of our jobs are in Akron, Canton, Youngstown, Warren, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, hours away. You know, at minimum, I have to drive 45 minutes to an hour every day. And so you're gonna see layoffs because companies are gonna be affected. You're gonna see people get fired because they can't afford to get to work. You know, and this is where the 15-minute cities would come in handy. You know, this not the scriptures like it. Klaus Schwab, the leader of the World Economic Forum, the WEF, he's on record saying that in the new world that they want, and the vision that they have for the world is you will own nothing and you will be happy. And so the only way to combat inflation and prices going up is to bring the demand down, to alter the world to where you don't need gasoline, or you don't want gasoline that bad, you know, or you don't want food, that certain particular foods that bad. And so when the demand goes down, then the price could go back down, but the demand is going to remain high for certain key things. And one of the key things to life is oil. Let me get that real quick. This is let me see. Oh, man, maybe I'm mistaken. I'm mixing two scriptures up in my mind. Oh, no, yeah, I got it. This is Sirach 39, verse 26. It says, the principal things for the whole use of man's life are water, fire, iron, and salt, flour of wheat, honey, milk, and the blood of the grape, and oil and clothing. You see? So oil, that's one of the things, whether you're thinking about olive oil, avocado oil, like cooking oils.
Hey, where can I park at? In the zone right here? Or...
Yeah, you could park, if you could fit in front of this car or behind me. Probably behind me because it's an all right. It says yeah, whether you're dealing with I'm at work, whether you're dealing with avocado oil, olive oil, or whether you're dealing with natural oil, crude oil. Okay, these oil is a key thing of life. And clothing. Now, verse 27 says, and this is where it gets interesting because the Lord is turning these things against you people. All of these principal things, they're going to be weaponized against you in the last days to bring judgment upon you people. It says, all these things are for good to the godly, so to the sinner they are turned into evil. So oil is going to be turned into evil. The blood of the grape, which is wine, is going to be turned into evil. People are going to bring judgment upon others when they get drunk. Salt, wheat, flour, honey, milk. These things are going to be turned into evil for the sinner because you're not going to have access to it. There's going to be a famine. Water, there's going to be a famine of water. Okay? And clothing. So it says, I asked ChatGPT if gasoline goes up to $250 a barrel, how much would a gallon cost in America? You know, the Apostle Tar, he said if a brother wanted to do the math, we could do the math. So I said, let me try and see what ChatGPT has to say. And it broke it all the way down. It says, let's break it down simply. A barrel of oil is 42 gallons, but you don't get 42 gallons of gasoline from a barrel, only about 19 to 20 gallons. The rest becomes diesel, jet fuel, etc. If oil goes to $250 per barrel, cost per gallon of crude oil, 250 divided by 42 is about $5.95 a gallon. But since only 20 gallons become gasoline, the crude cost of gallon of gas is closer to $12.50 per gallon for just crude oil. And you add refining, transport, taxes, and profit. In the United States, those typically add $2 to $4 on top of that price. The final rough estimate, if oil hit $250 a barrel, gas in America would likely be around $14 to $18 per gallon. You see? So this is what you're looking at. And you heard what the expert said in the Elder Apostle Tar's video. He said that he could see it going to $250. And he's not the only person that I heard say that. He said that he could easily see it going to $250 per barrel. Okay? And so, like I said, your travel is going to be limited. And that's the prophecy of 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter, and 17. Really, we could start at 14, because the social unrest that this is going to cause. Let me just ask ChatGPT, what kind of civil unrest would those prices cause? Well, it's gonna cause the type of civil unrest that's spoken about here in 2nd Esdras, the 15th chapter. Prices in that range would be a major economic shock. So unrest wouldn't be guaranteed everywhere, but the risk would rise a lot, especially if it happened quickly. Financial stress on households, commuters, delivery drivers, right? You got a lot of brothers and people in general that do these delivery apps, DoorDash, Uber Eats. You know, that becomes an unworkable job. And you have a lot of people, whether they're lazy or you know, they can't get up and move on their own, they rely on those type of delivery services. It says commuters, delivery drivers, and lower income workers get hit the hardest, the common folk, which those are the ones that are being targeted for the MOTB. He calls of all, both small and great. The great are going to take it. The rich are going to take it. The wealthy, the elites of Edom, they're going to take the mark because they believe it's their way of world domination, everlasting life, and all of that madness, right? But they really have to trick and snare the common people into taking it. It says that creates anger faster because the lower income people are going to be hit the hardest. And that reminds me of Job. Let's get Job. And the bad part about it is that Americans don't understand money at all. So their reasoning as to why the prices get high is just going to come down to pointing the finger at a particular politician or a particular individual. Isn't that they're not going to reason with the facts of the logistics of inflation? You know, they don't understand these things. The markets, they don't understand these things at all. So it says here in Job chapter 20. Let's see, is it 20? Job 20 and 22. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. And like we know, this word wicked, when you go into it in the Hebrew, the word is aimal, which means the laborers, the workforce. Okay, it tells you that in James the 5th chapter. It says that, you know, the workers, the laborers that you have, let me put this on Do Not Disturb. I'm about to mess it up, so let me just try to read it. James chapter 5. In verse 4, it says, behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is, you know, the workforce, mainly the Israelites, which is of you kept back by fraud, because this is a fraudulent system. It's a debt-based society. It says, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. Okay? So this is going to cause major civil unrest. It goes on to say spikes in food and good prices. Transportation costs ripple into everything. Groceries, rent, services, so it doesn't feel like just gas. Truckers, gig workers, and some service workers may protest or strike because they can't afford to operate. But protesting isn't going to do anything because it's a collapse of the global economy. These are the most common patterns seen globally. Protests and demonstrations, targeted strikes or blockades. Trucking slows down, which is going to lead to my next precept. Trucking slows down. Fuel depots, protests, and highway blockades. Now let's get the prophecy to show you that what's happening is aligning with the plans of the Heavenly Father. okay, to punish Babylon the Great and the sinners in this place, but also to make a way to escape for his elect. 2nd Esdras chapter 15, verse 14. Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hand. And the modern day sword is the gun. Note that you have more guns in America than in any other country in the world, and you have more guns in America than people. It says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So this is speaking about civil unrest, but in the stage of complete anarchy, where there is no rule of law. There is no police force. There is no 911 to come and stop what people are doing. The course of their actions is going to stand in their power. Verse 17 says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. Why? Because of various factors. The highway blockades. It may be military blockades, because once the civil unrest comes, you know Donald Trump is going to send in the military, the National Guard. You don't have no gas. You can't afford gas. So yeah, you may want to go to this city. You may want to go to work in the next town, but you don't have no gas, so you can't get there. Okay? Because of hyperinflation. Because of the actions of your president, Donald Trump. You know, which the scriptures speak about how Egypt shall stagger like a drunken man staggereth in his vomit, because of the stupid moves that, you know, your government, the United States government, is going to do here in these last days. It doesn't make logical sense if you're thinking about the prosperity of the citizens. Revelation 6:6, and I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Right? This is going into hyperinflation. Okay? Bear with me. Yeah, I'm about to see what's up. It says a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. The oil and the wine represents the brothers in this truth. So in the midst of this hyperinflation, which I'm going to break it down because this is speaking about hyperinflation, the brothers and the truth is still going to prosper. Now, when you go to the word penny, it's actually going into a day's wage, because a penny in the ancient Roman Empire was a denarius or a denarion.
Strong's G 1220. Denarion.
It says a denarius, which means containing 10. A Roman silver coin in the New Testament time, it took its name from being equal to 10 asses. A number after 217 BC increased to 16 asses. It was the principal silver coin of the Roman Empire. From the parable of the laborers in the vineyard, it was seen that a denarius was then the ordinary pay for a day's wage. So if we read this again, knowing that the context of a penny is a day's wage, it says, and I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 beasts say, a measure of wheat for a day's wage, and 3 measures of barley for a day's wage. Right? So you're going to have a measure of wheat, a little bit of bread for a day's wage, which is in this country right now, as a day's wage in this country. Let's say you get paid $15 an hour. That's $120 for an 8-hour shift. That's a day's wage. Let's say you get paid 18. Okay, maybe $150 hour. $150 a day. So, and that's before, hyperinflation and all of that. If these prices continue to rise, a day's wage, you would think that it would go up a little bit. But like Jake told me when I was at work, he said, don't work hard. I said, I ain't working hard. He said, work smart, not hard. I said, I am. He said, because gas going up? I said, yeah. He said, because groceries going up? I said, yeah. He said, rent going up? I said, yeah. He said, you know what ain't going up? I said, my pay. He said, you're right about that. Yep, that's exactly what I was about to say. So although everything is going up, one thing that's not going up is your wage. But it says you're going to, like a loaf of bread is going to cost a day's wage, $120 for a loaf of bread. What do you think? What do you think people are going to do? Do you think they're going to care about the police? Do you think they're going to regard their kings nor princes? Or do you think the course of their action is going to stand in their power? Once there's so many people committing crimes, This is how riots take place and riots flourish, because once so many people are on one accord with the destruction, there's nothing that the police force can do about it. Then they have to bring in reinforcements, being the military and the National Guard. So brace for impact, because like I said, gas is going to continue to rise, because Trump is going to continue to push forward, because the hand of the king, or the heart of the king, is in the hand of the Lord. The Lord wants this man to continue to press the issue, knowing that, you know, what he's doing and how the Strait of Hormuz is being blocked off is going to collapse the global economy. And you heard in the video that there's only 3 ships going through the Strait of Hormuz right now. And previously, a normal day would be 134 ships going through. There's only 3 ships going through per day now. So think about the impact that that's going to have. Well, this is edifying. Call me Australia Shalom.